Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about not my Elementalist build, but the standard dueling Elementalist build. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the dueling meta in general. So I'm going to go into as much detail as I can into why this build is quite simply the best, and what I think about how it works in the meta. So we'll start with the utility skills here. Why Lightning Flash? Being able to teleport onto your opponent and burst them down instantly is incredibly powerful, especially when you're fighting, say, a thief who doesn't expect you to be on top of him that moment, or another elementalist. Because we're doing double dagger, our attacks are close range, so we can surprise people by landing Lightning Flash on top of them and doing a considerable amount of damage. You need Armor of Earth so that you don't die to stun locks. It also provides a good protection uptime, but mostly against stun locks. You can, if you're not fighting a warrior or anyone that's really going to stun you a lot, you can run, say, Arcane Blast or Arcane Wave, or even I've tried Elemental Power. It does work, but it's important in general to have Armor of Earth for defense. Arcane Shield does a massive amount of damage and blocks 3 attacks, but most importantly, it's a stun break. We need stun breaks, and we need the defense and offense at the same time that it provides. It's just the best utility choice here. I take it over Mist Form, and most people take it over Mist Form, because for 3 seconds after casting Mist Form, you can't do anything. You're not going to stomp anyone in duels, so there's little point in Mist Form, since duels are really a battle of attrition. We take Signet of Restoration because it heals the most. Out of all of the healing skills there are, it heals the most. Even though Ether Renewal might seem like it heals more, it doesn't. If you're spamming abilities as fast as you can and should be, Signet of Restoration will heal the most. Not to mention, if you're fighting anyone who's decent at dueling, they'll just interrupt your Ether Renewal. Unless, of course, you have Armor of Earth or Arcane Shield on, but most of the time they'll interrupt it. So let's talk about why Dagger Dagger. Very simple. Dagger Dagger provides the most DPS. Main Hand Dagger provides more DPS than Scepter, or of course than Staff, and Offhand Dagger provides more DPS than the Focus. But at the same time, it also provides more consistent sustain than the Focus. Whereas the Focus has the 5-second invulnerability, which is very powerful, it's very short-lived, and as soon as you use it, your opponent's just going to save their cooldowns. If you're good, you can get them to blow 1 or 2 cooldowns on it, but it's not going to provide a consistent long-term defense that the Offhand Dagger will, through Frost Aura and healing, and through a stun and, if you need to, running away. But most importantly, the Offhand Dagger provides more total offense. Ring of Fire and Fire Grab. So let's go into the traits. 0, 20, 0, 20, 30. It is possible to also run 0, 15, 10, 15, 30. They're very similar, but I find this build to be a decently more powerful than that, because the toughness and condition damage are not quite as useful as they should be. And the condition removal here is very strong. So you may notice I only have 1400 health and only 20 points in water. Or 14,000 health and only 20 points in water. That's because it's all you need. This is a battle of attrition, which means all of your sustain is coming from healing, not from high toughness and vitality. Whereas something like a warrior will have sustain of their healing signet and toughness and vitality. You just have healing. That's it. So we maximize healing by taking Arcane or Evasive Arcana for Cleansing Wave every 10 seconds. You'll get a 1500 heal and a condition removal. Cleansing Wave heal here again. Condition removal every 10 seconds. And Healing Ripple again. Healing every 10 seconds. So it's these 3 traits are 2 conditions removed and 3000 healing every 10 seconds. We're 30 in Arcane because you've got to go through your attunements fast. The faster the better, because of elemental attunement. I firmly believe that elemental attunement is the strongest trait the Elementalist has at the moment. And going 30 into Arcane with elemental attunement is just so incredibly powerful that you have to take it. When combined with the ability to get Evasive Arcana for going 30 into Arcana, it's just the best. Not doing this, as far as dueling goes, you are going to lose. There is no more efficient trait selection than 30 in Arcane. Even though it's been nerfed, having the 10-second attunement cooldowns is just very, very good. It increases your healing dramatically from the regen you get here, from being able to roll in water attunement for the Evasive Arcana, and from healing Ripple. It's just so effective for sustain. The protection, high protection uptime and high regen, really permanent regen almost. It's just the strongest. Not to mention Lingering Elements combined with Soothing Mist gives you permanent Soothing Mist, which is almost another regen. It's just slightly less powerful than Regeneration. So you have permanent regeneration, permanent Soothing Mist, and 3000 healing every 10 seconds. That's 300 health per second, plus 2 condition clears every 10 seconds. This right here is just incredibly powerful to defense. Now if you add in Renewing Stamina, Permanent Vigor, you can't get any stronger sustain than this. So after we have all of this sustain here from these really, really amazing minor and major traits, we go into offense. We say, okay, that's enough defense. Now how can we maximize our offense? And the answer is air magic, because precision and critical damage are included in the same tree. So we get Fury and Swiftness here. Combined with this amazing minor trait here, we now have permanent Fury, because we're doing Dagger, which has, as you probably know, 2 auras. Dagger main hand is the only main hand that has an aura, so it's the only way to get 2 auras if you're using a Dagger main hand. You can go Dagger focus and still get 2 auras, and that's okay. It's just not quite as powerful. Lightning Strike can hit for 2000, a decent damage increase. It's about 1000 to 2000 damage every 10 seconds if you're swapping to air often, so it's a really good minor trait. And Bolt to the Heart, 20% damage increase when your opponent's low. This spec is again a battle of attrition. You're trying to whittle down your opponent by doing the most efficient possible combination of damage and defense and healing. This combination will get your opponent under 33%, and Bolt to the Heart will finish them. Once you get them that low, the battle is pretty much yours, and this guarantees that. So we'll go to the gear. The gear, as you can see, today is April Fool's, and A-Net's playing a little bit of a prank on us. The gear, I'm running full Berserker with Ruby Orbs. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. You don't have to run full Berserker. You can run a mix of Knights. You can run several different things, but basically you want high power, high precision, and high critical damage. Not a whole lot of vitality, and a good amount of armor. This is not a whole lot of armor, but I do have very high offensive stats, so it's reasonable. It's really reasonable. So, to get these stat sets, you can do a measure of different things. I have Berserkers here, a Berserker's Dagger, a PTV Soldier's Dagger with Sigil of Energy and a Sigil of Force, which I find to be the most effective combination. You can run a Sigil of Battle instead of Energy, and that is effective too. I just really, really like Sigil of Energy for extra dodges. Dodging is so important. And then here, Cavaliers is great, and Power, Precision, Toughness is also great. As it turns out, after running my damage calculator, this amount of precision is exactly equal in damage output to the critical damage here. So these two stat sets are literally exactly the same when it comes to DPS output. Critical damage is a little nicer because it provides you with more burst, which is important for taking down thieves and mesmers. But in all reality, they have the same damage output total, and this is an attrition build. So it really doesn't matter whether you have Cavaliers or Power, Precision, Toughness. They're basically the same. And I have a Celestial backpack just because I like this backpack. You can't see it, but it's fancy. Anyway. So that's the build, and it's pretty much just the most effective and efficient thing as far as total damage and total survivability that you can build. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Elementalist. ArenaNet has stated that the Elementalist is intended to be a jack of all trades. Now this can be taken two ways. You can take it as the Elementalist is intended to have the ability to fulfill any role, but not be the best at it. Or you can take it as the Elementalist is intended to have the ability to perform every role with one spec, but not be the best at any one role. And I choose to take it as the ability to do anything with one spec, because every class in this game can do everything. Everyone can be a bunker, everyone can run full berserker DPS, everyone can do every role. But the Elementalist is the only one that should be able to do it with one spec. Now if this is the case, then there is only one Elementalist spec, and there will only ever be one Elementalist spec. Except for certain things, if you're doing competitive World v World, you obviously want to run a staff. But the gear setup will be pretty much the same. So, if the Elementalist is really intended to be a jack of all trades with one spec, then the one spec that is most efficient at doing everything, which is surviving, dealing damage, and providing control and support for your team, then there will be only one spec. And that's it. That's all there is to it. There can never be more than one spec unless two are absolutely perfectly balanced, which is not the case and cannot be. But as far as this goes, you're doing 2 condition clears every 10 seconds and 3,000 healing for your team every 10 seconds, plus huge boons for your team from this, plus damage and control. So this build is also effective for team play. You could actually take 10 points out of here and put 10 into water so that you could have auras on your teammates, and that would be a little bit more effective for your team. But again, this is a dueling build. So there are slight variations of the build for slightly different occasions, but it's pretty much always going to be this build unless something dramatically changes. Looking forward to the next April 15th patch where they're going to add in all the major traits, I do not believe anything will change. It is possible that the Earth trait or the Arcane trait that they're adding could be quite powerful, used correctly, but I don't believe that it will change anything. I'm pretty sure the Elementalist is going to stay exactly where they are. So, the dueling meta right now is do the most damage you can while having the most sustain you can. Now, a thief will always win a duel because they can go full damage, and if they're good, still be unkillable, because whenever they would be killed, they can stay in stealth until they're back at full health. This means that they can do incredible amounts of damage, and they always have maximum survivability, as in they cannot be killed. So we're going to exclude thieves from the dueling meta at the moment. Mesmers are not quite there because they don't have infinite stealth or unlimited stealth whenever they want, which means that if you run them out of stealth, you can beat them still. And this spec will do that fairly efficiently. But again, the meta is do as much damage you can and have as much sustain as you can in conjunction with each other. If you're a class like a ranger, then you want to build more defensively because it's naturally easy to get offensive traits. but it's even more effective to have defensive traits. So you use the most effective traits, which are defensive. Spirits, of course. And that's just an example of what is most efficient for your class. For the Elementalist, it's actually most efficient for us to do damage, which is why our gear is so offensive. We have a lot of healing, and we have, with this build, not very much healing power, only 222, but we have really good healing traits. So we take those. Our healing traits are probably the strongest in the game, which makes them very, very important to the Elementalist. So we take those, and then we take whatever's left over in offense, and we make our gear offense. Basically, this means there is, in dueling, one most efficient build for your class. And if your build is more efficient than another class, you're going to win, so long as you know how to play it correctly. There is a very, very large skill cap in dueling. I know a lot of people don't want to think there is, but I promise there is. It's really difficult to hit the skill cap for dueling. I certainly have not. I've been beaten by another Elementalist before. But in general, the games are very, very back and forth. Sometimes I'll dodge his fire grab, and that's all it takes. I just hit dodge roll at that point. His fire grab missed. I win the duel. Sometimes that's all there is to it. Other times it's a very slow battle of attrition where we both consistently land something or don't land something, or play a little too defensive and neither of us die. So it's a difficult balance. In general, the most efficient duelers at the moment are Elementalists, not in any particular order, but Elementalist, Thief, Mesmer, and Engineer, I would say. Engineers are quite powerful in World v World, condition engineers. Again, this is my opinion. There is no guarantee of this. This is just from a lot of time spent dueling in the Obsidian Sanctum on Tier 2 Gold League. I'm currently on Sea of Sorrows right now, and have been in the Tier 2 Obsidian Sanctum for quite a while, dueling. It's very, very bustling at a different time of the day. So that is my long explanation of dueling and where the Elementalist stands in the meta and why their build is effective and how this is the most effective. So if you have any comments, leave them in the comments section below. There are many changes that can be made to the build. This is simply what I believe and what I have seen and tested to be the most effective. So, you're welcome to your opinions though, of course. Have a good day.